Hello again. So there's a few questions in your lessons 2.3, 2.4 guided notes that are a little bit different than what's in the video since I added them since the last couple of years. So I want to go through those questions. Now in your notes, these are going to be numbers 34 and 35, and then 36 will be the circle graph question. So some of the numbers might be a little bit off, but these two questions are the ones that were added into the notes, and they replace one of the other ratio questions from the video. So you're going to notice some slight differences, again, between the video and the notes. But I do want to go through these questions so that you have some access to how to do these, since there will be a question like this on the test. So number 34 in your notes, I know it says 33 here, says the ratio of cats to dogs at a shelter is 2 to 3. Now you're going to notice some labels that I added in. The reason why I labeled the 2 as cats and the 3 as dogs is because of the order in which this is written. So cats to dogs is 2 to 3. So that's cats to dogs. So what that means for us is that for every 2 cats, there are 3 dogs. In your notes, I put a visual. So I'm going to slide this down here and you can see the visual that we have here. So for every 2 cats, we have 3 dogs. Often when students are asked questions related to this, they'll say, oh, 2/3 is 66.6 repeating percent. So either the percentage of cats is 66.6 repeating percent or the percentage of dogs is that. And that is not true. We actually have 5 total animals here. When we are asked what percent of the animals at the shelter are dogs, there are 3 dogs out of 5 total animals. Now, they probably have more animals than that at the shelter, but for every 2 cats, there's 3 dogs. So that ratio is going to stay the same, even if we, let's say, have 50 animals at the shelter. So since there are 3 dogs out of 5 animals, we want to write that as a percent. Now, we talked about that in the fraction decimal percent lesson. 3 divided by 5 gets you 0.6, which is 60%. You can also say 3 out of 5 is 6 out of 10, and 6/10 is 60%. Similar question, what percent of the animals at the shelter are cats? As you can see from our visual, we have 2 cats out of 5 total animals. And if you do 2 divided by 5, that's going to get you 40.4, which is 40%. Now, again, you can represent that as a decimal. 2 divided by 5 is 0.4. That's going to equal 40%. We want to make sure to write our final answers as percents. Now, you notice these 2 percents add to 100%. If there would be animals besides cats and dogs at the shelter, that may differ. But in this case, we've got 60% of the animals being dogs and 40% being cats. So we really want to pay attention to the total number of animals we have, and that's going to be 5 animals in this case. So taking a look at the next question, which I believe in your notes is number 35, it's numbered 34 here. So similar question. You don't have the visual drawn in, but I do think it's helpful. So when it says the ratio of fish to frogs in a tank is 5 to 3, that means for every 5 fish, there are 3 frogs. So you're going to see a visual that'll pop up here. So for every 5 fish, we have 3 frogs. Part A says, what percent of the creatures in the tank are fish? I couldn't think of a better word besides creatures. So we've got 5 fish out of 8 total creatures, 5 plus 3. 5 out of 8 is 62.5%. Remember how we find that. We can do 5 divided by 8, which as I said previously is 0.625. That's our decimal. That's equivalent to 62.5 or 62.5%. Now I had someone in one of my classes say, well, you can't have half of a fish or half of a frog. But this is a percentage. It's not necessarily half of a fish or half of a frog. All right, for part B, what percent of the creatures in the tank are frogs? Well, we have 3 frogs out of 8 total creatures. 3/8 is going to be 0.375 as a decimal, which is 37.5%. Again, we can start by writing it as a decimal and then write that equivalent percent. Now, after this, you'll have a circle graph question in your guided notes, which is in the regular video, probably numbered as number 35 if I can guess correctly, but you will have a circle graph question in your notes. So make sure you complete that one as well. Thanks for listening. I apologize this isn't part of the regular video, but I did want to make sure to address these questions.